Fort Dearborn was a United States fort, first built in 1803 beside the Chicago River in what is now Chicago, Illinois. It was constructed by U.S. troops under Captain John Whistler and named in honor of Henry Dearborn, then United States Secretary of War. The original fort was a log-built structure enclosed in a double stockade with two blockhouses. In the early 1800s, the fort was an important outpost on the American frontier, serving as a hub for trade and transportation. During the War of 1812, Fort Dearborn faced a dark chapter. In 1814, General William Hull ordered the evacuation of the fort. As the evacuees left the fort, they were ambushed by a large group of Potawatomi Indians in the Battle of Fort Dearborn. Of the 148 soldiers, women, and children who evacuated, 86 were killed in the attack. The Potawatomi captured the fort's commander, Captain Nathan Heald, and his wife, and ransomed them to the British. The fort was then burned to the ground by the Potawatomi. After the War of 1812, a second Fort Dearborn was built on the same site in 1816. This fort consisted of a double wall of wooden palisades, officer and enlisted barracks, a garden, and other buildings. The American forces garrisoned the fort until 1823, when peace with the Indians led the garrison to be deemed redundant. The fort was reoccupied during the Black Hawk War in 1832. But by 1837 it was being used by the Superintendent of Harbor Works before eventually being decommissioned. The site of Fort Dearborn has left a lasting legacy on the city of Chicago. The southern perimeter of the fort is marked by plaques and a line embedded in the sidewalk and road near the Michigan Avenue Bridge and Wacker Drive. In 1939, the Chicago City Council added a fourth star to the city flag to represent Fort Dearborn. The site was designated a Chicago landmark in 1971, preserving an important piece of the city's history. The history of Fort Dearborn is closely tied to the early settlement and founding of Chicago. Jean-Baptiste Point du Sable, a French-speaking colonist of African descent, built a prosperous farm and trading post near the mouth of the Chicago River in the 1780s, at a site directly across the river from the future fort. Du Sable is widely regarded as the founder of Chicago. As the fort was established and the settlement grew, Chicago emerged as an important hub on the American frontier.